Guys, it was a crazy weekend this past weekend, but honestly, it was also worthwhile on every single part of it. Welcome to the Game Changer, ladies and gentlemen, where for the first time ever we can say that we are better than the Kings of the Rings. I am indeed Nate the Effing Great, and I'm being joined here by my co-host, the one, the only royalty of the Game Changer. He is Mr. Chad Knight. Good to have you back on, good sir.
Hey man, it's great. I always enjoy doing these. Even if the pay-per-view we're going to talk about one of them anyway is kind of crappy. It happens, but it's good to be back.
I definitely know what you mean, but yeah, we'll get into that in a bit. So actually, I'm going to be talking about NXT Takeover War Games 2 that took place, and then the two of us are going to collaborate on Survivor Series. So guys, bear with us for the next probably 20-30 minutes as I talk about NXT Takeover War Games. Absolutely a phenomenal event, really well done. We kicked off with Shayna Baszler versus Kairi Sane in the 2 out of 3 falls match for the NXT Women's Championship match. It was honestly a really, really good matchup. I love the storytelling. I like everything that went into it. First off, Shayna Baszler went on the attack. She went absolutely nuts and got the early first victory with the choke. And then Kairi Sane would come back and hit her patented, I like to call it the Princess Pirate's elbow drop because it is legitimately one of the best elbows in professional wrestling today. She actually hit it first time on the outside, and then she hit her second one on the inside of the ring to get the second fall. And then, of course, we had the interference by the other two horsewomen. I'm trying to remember their names. Nope, slipped my mind. They got involved. Kairi Sane was able to get some momentum back. Then we had Dakota Kai as well as Io Shirai get involved to even the odds. Kairi Sane would hit the second elbow, but then Shayna Baszler would use the momentum to turn it into a pin, in which she would retain the NXT Women's Championship. Honestly, guys, it was a really great way to start off the show. I'm going to give this matchup probably a B+. Honestly, it was a really good matchup to start off the show. They always find a way to do a fantastic job of keeping you invested, and that is what the women's division is doing on NXT. It is absolutely great and wonderful to see. Next matchup we had was Aleister Black taking on Johnny Gargano. This was one of those matches that, geez Louise, when you think about War Games now, you're going to definitely know that Aleister Black is going to have one of the highlights of the entire event. Last year he took on Velveteen Dream, in which was a very fantastic matchup. And now this time around, he takes on Johnny Gargano. Basically the story here is Johnny's trying to just beat Aleister Black and show this darker side, which he does a fantastic job of doing during this matchup. Aleister Black would, of course, be trying to get redemption. Storyline telling in this matchup was absolutely wonderful. A lot of hard kicks, a lot of hard shots taken on each other, definitely showing the ferocity and the physicality that this matchup can provide. The ending was just insane. We see a lot of points where Aleister Black is just screaming at Gargano, come on, hit me with your best shot, hit me with your best shot. And eventually he would hit the super kick, and Aleister would kick out. Aleister Black would then come back with his, I believe it was a spinning knee to the face of Johnny Gargano. And then he would hit the Fade to Black on Johnny Gargano to pick up the victory. A really good matchup between these two guys, and I'm hoping that it's not the last time that we see that. I'm going to definitely give this one a A-. It was really good. Everything about this matchup was just absolutely fantastic. The storytelling was great. I love the physicality to it because we don't usually get too much of that in wrestling, so it's really cool to see that. And props to Johnny and Aleister for probably stealing the show. Or maybe, because then we go into the next matchup, which is the NXT Championship, in which we had Tommaso Ciampa taking on Velveteen Dream. Now, I will say this, that one of the things I really love about Velveteen Dream is that he seems like he's one of the wrestlers who takes the Hulk Hogan negativity that he had on his podcast, where he had some controversial remarks, and Velveteen Dream is just doing a fantastic job of just turning it on him, basically saying, you want to say that about us? Okay, fine. I'm going to be more over than you can possibly imagine. And he's done a fantastic job. Earlier this year, he looked like Hulk Hogan. Now this year, in War Games, he actually was rocking the Hollywood Hogan look. It was absolutely crazy. It was absolutely wonderful. Tommaso Ciampa just, geez Louise, I am very loving heel Ciampa more and more. I see him wrestle. He does a lot of great physical moments to Velveteen Dream. We see Velveteen Dream hit the leg drop for a close 2 count. He's able to hit his Velveteen Dream driver, which is that modified Death Valley driver. Just an absolutely fantastic move. He's able to hit the elbow drop. He's hitting everything that he can, but Ciampa is just not going down. In the end, we would see Tommaso Ciampa hit the DDT on Velveteen Dream on the, I believe it was the, from the second rope, I believe. So that's turning into his finisher, which, the way he does it, it's just so brutal to take. So I'm totally okay with this. A lot of near falls, a lot of close calls, just an absolutely fantastic matchup. I'm going to give this one a B+. It's a really good matchup. Once again, proving that Velveteen Dream is just beyond his years, as well as his gimmicks, and his just absolute presence is just very hard to deny. You can tell that he is going to be a major player when it comes to the main roster. It is going to be a huge day of beauty when we see Velveteen Dream get called up to the main roster. Then we move on to the main event, which was the War Games matchup, in which we had the Authors of Pain taking on the War Raiders, Ricochet, and Pete Dunne. It started off with Adam Cole, baby, and Ricochet, in which we saw an absolutely fantastic showing between the two of them. Then we got into the entries for the combatants. Started off with the team of Undisputed Era. I believe it was Kyle O'Reilly that got in first. After that, we would have Heyman get involved. He would be a part of the matchup as well. And then we got, I'm trying to think here, Roderick Strong, and then we had the other War Raider. Then Bobby Fish got involved, and he actually put on probably one of the smartest, most incredible things I probably could ever think of. He actually takes another lock, and he actually locks Pete Dunne in the cage, so that way when he hits the final countdown, Pete Dunne is still locked in there. So we see Undisputed Era just taking it to the War Raiders team, beating the 3 members down until referees were finally able to get bolt cutters and just break the lock. And then Pete Dunne would come out, and he would have kendo sticks, he would bring in tables, he would bring in trash cans. We would see just nothing but brutality. Honestly, you could compare this to Lethal Lockdown. A lot of close calls for both of these teams. There's a lot of just shifts in momentum. Really what made War Games just absolutely amazing. I was very concerned about how they were going to do it compared to last year when they did it. But obviously last year they also had the 3-team deal, which I still don't understand to this day why that was a thing. But it is what it is. We got the actual War Games matchup here. I am totally okay with it. I am actually more than just okay with it. I was totally happy with it. A lot of really good spots, including Ricochet. Oh my god. The dive that he took from the top of the cage was just absolutely insane and absolutely wonderful. I loved seeing King Ricochet. I like to call him Prince Puma. I'm sorry. But I just love seeing him fly. And I love him just absolutely showing how much he cares about the fans and how much he really just wants to put on match of the night. And that is exactly, in my opinion, what this was. It was indeed match of the night. The finish happened after a great sequence of moves between Adam Cole and Pete Dunne. Pete Dunne would then hit his finish at the bitter end. Then we saw Prince Puma hit, I believe it was a shooting star press if I was not mistaken. It looked like some kind of a splash but I think it was a shooting star press. It was just the camera was at a weird angle, so all you saw was just the impact of him going down. That was how Team War Raiders, Pete Dunne, and Ricochet got the victory. And you still notice a little bit of tension between Ricochet and Pete Dunne because there's still some unfinished business between the two of them. But we didn't see a heel turn, so that was fine by me. Honestly, guys, give this one an A. It's an absolutely fantastic main event, and it really lives up to the name. So final grading for NXT TakeOver War Games 2, I'm giving this one a solid A-. Really good show, just absolutely fantastic. Love everything that happened during this. Like I said, all the matches were major highlights. Probably the only nitpick deal that I didn't like about this was the interference in the first matchup, but it also did give us the moment to see Io Shirai as well as Dakota Kai get involved and kind of even the odds, so that was kind of nice. Not too many botches that I was really too aware of, so it was really cool to see that they were very crisp and very frequent with their, moves. So honestly, yeah, NXT TakeOver War Games 2, really good. So we go from chicken salad to what some people might say chicken shit. Some people might say it was still a good show. We're going to discuss that right now. So now bringing back Chad Knight into this, so that way we can talk about Survivor Series. It had a lot of hype to live up to, especially with last year. I loved last year's Survivor Series. I thought it was an absolutely fantastic show. Honestly, in my opinion, last year was probably show event of the year because of everything that went down. But unfortunately, it definitely went a bit downhill as far as, I think, tension-wise. It was definitely a major downer. We're definitely going to be talking about the matches right now. So we kick off with the kickoff show, which I'm going to tell you right now. What happens here is complete BS. Not the match itself, but what happens after this is all said and done. We had the tag team matches in which we saw Team Raw, led by Rude and Gable, taking on Team SmackDown, led by the Usos. Honestly, guys, for the first few teams, it really felt like nothing really mattered in this until we got to the final four teams, which was Rude and Gable and Revival taking on the Usos and the New Day. But before we get deep into it, let me at least get the elimination deals here. But yeah, Chad, why don't you take over for this one? What did you think so far of the match for the pre-show, the tag team matchup?
Honestly, I didn't see the pre-show.
Okay.
But I will tell you the highlight of the whole night. I'm going to tell you it right now because it has nothing to do with any of the matches. Do you know what the highlight of the night was for Survivor Series? The announcement that Lars Sullivan is coming to the main roster.
Oh, boy. I am not one of those people that's really keen. I'm not a big fan of Lars Sullivan. He just does not... He doesn't exactly, kind of fit my mojo what a wrestler should be. I mean, I'm not trying to knock him down completely. It's just one of those things where it's like I just don't get him. I'm sorry, but when I saw him botch that Fade to Black at NXT TakeOver Chicago 2, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you still got a lot of you still got a long way to go, bud.
He might be a little green, but he's everything that Vince McMahon likes. He's big, he's brutal. So you put all that together, and he reminds me of Gene Snitsky. Do you know who Gene Snitsky is?
Oh, boy. I still have the visual of him kicking a baby into the audience. Don't even. just don't.
All right. Well, we can agree to disagree on this one.
Right. All right. So the eliminations for the tag team matchup were the Colognes got eliminated by the Revival after the Shatter Machine. The B team got eliminated by Carl Anderson with a schoolboy. Rude and Gable were able to eliminate Sandy with their neckbreaker moonsault combination. Honest to God, I still love that as a tag team move. I think that Rude and Gable, that's the one thing that they've really brought to the tag team division is that move. But a lot of people call it the Rude Awakening into the moonsault, which I'm still positively okay with that. Then we had oh my god, this was one of those things that I was very surprised by. Xavier Woods was able to pick up Big E on his shoulders and do like a electric chair splash onto a member of the Ascension to eliminate them. That was just, holy cow, that was just amazing. During this matchup, I'll also make this into a side note. Kalisto actually got injured. I think he landed on his knee wrong, or something happened during that. So Grand Metalik came in to replace Kalisto, and you'll know that people had issues with it, quote unquote, because damn Corey Graves just keeps saying like, "Oh great, well Grand Metalik's taking Kalisto's spot. That's cheating," and blah 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 blah. It's like, dude, just shut up, okay? I get it. Just please, just shut up, okay? we understand. The guy got hurt, so they had to kind of do something that was, not necessarily the best thing to do, but at the same time, it's like, hey, I'm okay with seeing Grand Metalik. I loved him from the Cruiserweight Classic. I'm glad that he's doing something instead of nothing, so I'm okay with this. But like I said, then we see Grand Metalik hit a springboard swanton on Carl Anderson to eliminate the Good Brothers. And I think it was after that point, a lot of people were just really pissed off with that. You definitely knew that people were not happy to see the Good Brothers leave. Lucha House Party would be eliminated by the Usos with their Ali Us, the elevated Samoan drop. And this Samoan drop actually looked really brutal because I think it was Jimmy lifted Lince Dorado up, and the way that he kind of landed when he was taking a Samoan drop, it almost looked like he hit his head. Thankfully, I think he hit his shoulder on the mat first, but it just looked like a really brutal drop. Then we had Big E eliminate Rude and Gable with the up, down, down. The New Day would then be eliminated via Shatter Machine from the Revival after Xavier Woods tries to go for his patented elbow drop, but then Revival's just like, nope, bam, Shatter Machine, 1, 2, 3. Really good matchup between Revival and the Usos, but in the end, we would see the Usos pick up the victory after an Uso splash, which, if you may have seen again, guys, during the splash, Jimmy Uso was doing the arm cock, paying homage to Roman Reigns. Really cool to see that, and honestly, I would love to see Roman come back with the Usos as part of his faction. I really want that more than ever right now. But the Usos and Team SmackDown would pick up the victory at the end of this matchup. And this matchup was about as good as you might expect it to be, if not probably a little bit watered down. I would give this matchup probably a B-, just because it's not until the last 4 teams, like I said, where things just pick up. But that being said, it was still a pretty good matchup. It's just that, we have to endure the first few teams, and it's just like, well, this just was a thing. But I don't know.
The biggest problem I had with this, and half the reason I didn't watch this match, was 10 tag teams doing an elimination match type thing, and it's just like, especially on Raw, the tag teams are nothing on Raw. They just kind of forget that they have tag teams, and they pull them out every once in a while to throw up against the champs. And I don't know. I just felt like this was underrated or overrated, and probably not worth the watch. And from listening to you talk, it kind of sounds like I can fast forward through 3/4 of the match and just watch the final 4 to get what it's worth.
Yeah, just yeah. That's really all I could say about that. All right, so now we get into the main card. And guys, I want to make this very clear because they definitely just really screwed this up. Vince had a plan as far as the night went for the event. And honestly, it went off with a major hitch. And that was the fact that he wanted one side to basically sweep the other side. That didn't happen because of what happened on the pre-show, and everybody's going to know that, that wasn't going to be the case. But we kick off with the women's tag team matchup in which we saw Team Raw, led by Alexa Bliss, who was not in the matchup, but still a part of the matchup, taking on Team SmackDown, led by Naomi, who took the place of Charlotte Flair. who is going to be taking on Ronda later on in the night. And trust me, guys, I really want to talk about that matchup because it was so good. Yeah, so the match itself here, a couple good spots here and there. Was it as good as last year's? I guess I could say it was a bit better than last year. Eliminations go like this. Naomi got eliminated by Tamina after a super kick. After it barely was even like 2 minutes into the matchup, and already Naomi was eliminated. So there's a part of me that's thinking, is she still being punished for her tweet before Evolution? Is that what's going on? Maybe. But then we got something really amazing in which Tamina got the elimination, and then Carmella came from behind with a schoolgirl for the victory. And of course, we get a dance break. She does a little dance during the deal. I'm finding myself starting to be a bit of a fan of Carmella. I didn't like her when she was a champion, but right now it's just one of those things where it's like I kind of want her to have a title run just for a little while. Not as excruciating.
Well, right now she's a fun character, and when she was the champ, she was not only was she a heel, which is fine and dandy. I enjoy heels as much as I enjoy faces, but she was just one of those types of heels that was just like, okay, we're done with you. Move on. And since the hair color change, and the strange team up with R-Truth, she's been kind of fun. I've kind of enjoyed Carmella.
I will say this: when she came out first, and then they incorporated R-Truth, it was kind of funny seeing that. I'm like, okay, well, this just made this matchup like a bit better. Now, R-Truth was not involved in this matchup, but
correct.
It was still one of those things where it was kind of cool to see that. And I will say this, that he still had some of the highlights of the night, which we'll get into in just a bit. Mickie James would be eliminated by Mandy after a sliding knee from Sonya Deville. You definitely see a lot of the tension brewing between Sonya and Mandy. It looks like that it's going to be Mandy as the heel and Sonya as the face, which I'm totally okay with. Like I've said before, I'll say it again. I see Sonya Deville turning into a women's champion sooner rather than later. I'm hoping that's going to be the case because she is absolutely awesome. Carmella would be eliminated by Bayley after the Bayley to Belly, or as I think Cole called it, the Belly to Bayley, which I thought to myself, dude, did you just switch your B's on purpose, or are you just that much of an idiot? Never mind, that's neither here nor there. Mandy would be eliminated by Sasha Banks after the Banks statement. And then we had both Bayley and Sonya eliminated via double countout, which a lot of people were not exactly very fond of that, which I can't.
Well, that was really odd. That was really odd in an elimination match. It honestly, it may be the first time I've ever seen somebody counted out in an elimination match. It was just really weird.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking for that, but I mean, I guess it kind of. I mean, I could see it, helping Sonya a bit because it still makes her look strong. But in the case of Bayley, it was just kind of like, I don't understand it. But Asuka would eliminate Sasha Banks with the Asuka Lock because of the fact that the one and only nuclear heat magnet right now, Nia Jax, decided, yep, nope, just going to push my tag team partner off the top rope. Like I said, then Asuka would eliminate her. As soon as the elimination was called for that, Nia comes in, boom, leg drop, boom, leg drop, boom, leg drop, then hits the Samoan drop. 1, 2, 3. Nia Jax would get the victory for Team Raw. And of course, nobody was liking that because the fact. I will say this, that there was a moment during the matchup, I can't remember who it was exactly. It might have been Naomi, or it might have been somebody from Team SmackDown, where, of course, a lot of people are calling her now the face breaker because of what she did to Becky Lynch. And literally, I'm like, this is one of those things, first of all, I don't like, because it's in poor taste, it's at the expense of Becky Lynch. I know, Becky's basically just taking it like, whatever, I'm still more over than you are. And to be fair, she is. But it's now one of those things where it's like, oh, she's going to turn this into a gimmick where she's almost like the Big Show, and she's going to just go, bunk, 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 start trying to punch people and try to do knockout deals. I'm like, just no, just, I hate the name.
Yeah, well, she did the same thing on Raw. She walked out and showed the fist to Ronda, and it was just like, really? I don't get it. I've never been a huge Nia fan. But, whatever. But, I got to say, Becky Lynch, she's taking it like a man.
That's why she is the man. Like we said, guys, Raw would pick up the victory here, and they've had a score tally throughout the night, and it'll definitely set the pace for what happens throughout the rest of the night, and that is Raw 1, SmackDown 0. So, honestly, grading-wise, I would probably give this one a B. I think it was still a good matchup. I think some parts of it kind of went a little faster than what I liked it to, but honestly, I look at this as a match that it was still very good. We got to see some great, matchups here and there. We got to see some entertaining moments. Honestly, still a pretty good way to kick off the kick off Survivor Series. Now, honestly, like I said, for NXT Takeover War Games, not as good as the opening matchup there, but it's not a horrible matchup to say the least. But I don't know. What would you rate this?
Now, before I get into that, I thought it was a very serviceable match, but I thought there was so much more they could have done with this, especially with the amount of time that they used in doing this match. I actually gave this one a C. I thought it was very middle of the road, and I didn't think there was anything great in it, and I didn't think there was anything overly horrible in it either. So I went with a C on this one.
Yeah, I could definitely understand that. All right, so we get into the next matchup, which was going to be match of the night until we reach a different matchup, and that was the champion versus champion matchup in which we saw United States champion Shinsuke Nakamura taking on Intercontinental champion Seth Rollins. Oh, good Lord Almighty, was this matchup really good?
This was, it would have been, just looking at my grades here, it would have been a match of the night if not for the match I'm sure we're both talking about.
God damn. This matchup between Shinsuke and Seth Rollins was probably everything that we wanted and then some. Because obviously, when we were thinking about, earlier in the year, AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura, we had expectations, and they just made it under the expectations that we had. I mean, it was still a good matchup. It was still pretty good to watch it, but it's still one of those things where it's like, they could have done so much more. I think that with this matchup here between Rollins and Nakamura, they knocked it out of the park. They did an absolutely fantastic job. The speed of both of these men was absolutely amazing. You had the striking style of Nakamura taking on the quick, fast-paced style of Seth Rollins. The 3 suicides dives onto Nakamura was great. A lot of points where Nakamura was just... I was surprised we actually didn't see a Nakamura low blow in this, which is what I was really counting on throughout this night. But it ended up not happening because, well, now that I look at it in a different perspective, I can understand why, because we'll talk about a future matchup that definitely incorporated that. But yeah, like I said, a lot of really good stuff here. Nakamura got some pretty good momentum in. He definitely looked like a champion in this matchup, and Seth Rollins, he's already a great champion as is, so there's no denying that he wasn't going to put this at least 110%. The finish was really good, in which we see, oh my gosh, the Rollins was going for a frog splash. Nakamura got his knees up, and then he hit his running knee to the back of the head of Seth Rollins. Rollins was able to kick out. Then they had a nice little chain deal in which we see the finish happen with Nakamura getting hit with the curb stomp, and then Seth Rollins picking up the victory, giving Raw a 2-0 lead. I definitely would give this matchup probably a solid A-. It was really good, right amount of time, and just absolutely... I just love this matchup. It was really good. It was the dream match I think a lot of people wanted, and I'm not going to lie, if we get this rematch again, I think that they could up that up to the next level.
So, Shinsuke, president of Knock America.
Right.
And you got Seth Rollins, who, I'm a huge Seth Rollins... I'm going to go beyond fan. I'm a mark, okay? I absolutely love Seth Rollins. But that said, I thought the interaction, the story they told in there with, both of them yelling what does Shinsuke say? Come on, or whatever he says. And Seth does it to him, and that curb stomp kind of came out of nowhere. because he had went for it once or twice before that, and Shinsuke was always on top of that, always ready to be like, this isn't going to happen, not like this, you know. And, I was kind of expecting a low blow too, but, I can do without those two because, well, let's be honest, I think about getting kicked in the nads, and I'm not too happy either. So, but yeah, no, I thought it was a great match. Like I said, match of the night, almost. I gave it a B+, actually. I thought it was really well done. I thought the story was well told. I thought that both of the guys got off some great moves. They both sold the other guy's move real well. So I thought it was very well done, and I really enjoyed that match.
It was a spectacle to behold, and guys, you can still check it out on the WWE Network. All right, so the next matchup that we have was, oh my god, I had such high expectations for this matchup, but that was my fault. We had the other champion versus champion matchup. It was the Bar accompanied by the Big Show taking on AOP, Authors of Pain, with Drake Maverick in this matchup. Honestly, guys, I was expecting the strength and the power of AOP to take on the strength and the power of the Bar. I had such high expectations. I thought maybe Cesaro was going to be doing more and more with this. I think he got maybe one Cesaro swing in, which it was great, but it's one of those things where it's like it didn't exactly, it wasn't. I don't know. It just something felt really off with this matchup. And I think definitely one of the reasons that was so off was because of the finish, but at the same time, just throughout the matchup, it really did not captivate my interest as much. Like I said, I was expecting more because you have these two powerhouses and brawlers in Cesaro and Sheamus taking on these two powerhouses, which these guys can put on hell of a good matches, because if you watch NXT, holy crap, you will be very surprised in how. And now they're kind of so watered down. And in this matchup, I just looked at them like they could have done so much more with this. Maybe if they gave them a little more time, maybe if they gave them a little more leeway. I don't know. I just was a bit disappointed when it came down to this matchup. But of course, the finish was, oh dear God, and they made this into a joke on Raw. So Drake Maverick is hoisted up by the Big Show, and he is so scared that he pisses his pants. No, seriously, he peed his pants on national television. And literally, Cesaro and Sheamus, they're kind of looking over like, oh my God, did he really just pee his pants? Big Show kind of walks away just laughing. Which sadly to me, I think that was like the highlight of this entire matchup, was just hearing him going,
quite possibly.
That would allow Authors of Pain to take the advantage and hit their, I call it, drink it while investing, but they probably call it like the painful maneuver or something like that. That neck breaker power bomb combination that they do. I'm sorry, but I'm a beer money mark. I don't care what anybody says. That's drinking while investing, so shut up. But Authors of Pain would pick up the victory. Like I said, I had higher expectations for that, and this matchup just did not reach it. I'd probably give this one a C-. It was just a regular matchup. I felt very little nostalgia after that. It was just like, it didn't really do its job of really keeping me, invested. It felt like one of those matches that was just kind of there. Oh, and by the way, it puts Raw up at 3-0.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think it was even just a standard match. It was just bad. It just didn't feel like anything clicked the way that it should have. It just, there was nothing to it that really made me go, anything about this match other than Drake Maverick pissing himself. It's just nothing there, you know what I mean? I also I said a C-, but I'm right in that same neighborhood as you. I just was not impressed. It would have been a good time to go to the bathroom, grab a snack, something like that.
Yeah, I think that probably would have been a better bit of time that we could use for this. All right, so hey guys, we're going to take a break from all this, brand warfare, supremacy, blah, 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 in which we are going to be talking about the Cruiserweight Championship matchup. Buddy Murphy taking on Mustafa Ali. Once again, these guys just putting on a wrestling clinic. You see so much of Buddy Murphy evolving over the last few months. I mean, earlier this year, he just was that guy that a lot of people were thinking, like, oh, he's not really going to do too much. He's not going to do too much. But then more as time went on, you're thinking, wow, he is improving. He's becoming better. It'd be kind of cool to see him as a Cruiserweight champion. Then, of course, we had Super Showdown, in which he won it in his home country of Australia. It was awesome. This matchup, again, if you guys haven't seen Mustafa Ali versus Buddy Murphy, first of all, you need to check out their No DQ contest on 205 Live. That was a just absolute crazy of a matchup. This matchup, I would definitely put it at a very close number 2, because everything that happened during this matchup, it was very fluent, it was very good. Mustafa Ali had the right kind of advantages, where he's, doing a lot of high-flying move. I love his reverse Hurricane Rana that he hits. The way that Buddy Murphy takes it, oh my God, I'm worried that he's going to just give himself a concussion if he's not careful. But it was a really good matchup. The finish was even surprisingly very good. I think it was Mustafa Ali was trying to go for his 054, which is the reverse. No, wait. Yeah, reverse 450 that he does. And Buddy Murphy was able to counter that, hit a knee to the face, and then hit Murphy's Law on Mustafa Ali for the 3 count. He retains his title. Definitely one of those matches that, had the right amount of time, it had the right amount of wrestling. Absolutely a really good matchup. I'm giving this one an A-. It was another really good matchup. I loved it. I thought that everything about this matchup was very crisp. It was very good. I think that even added a different element to it, because, of course, the fact is it was for the Cruiserweight title, but it also just felt like it was very different from a lot of previous matches that they had. So, really good to see the Cruiserweight division on the main card. It's where they deserve to be and not on the pre-show.
Yeah, I would agree. Love the Cruiserweights, always have. That's, back in the day, that's why I was a WCW fan, was for their Cruiserweights. I mean, that was what I tuned in every week to watch. But these two guys, holy crap! I haven't watched 205 Live as much or as regularly as I should, but these guys are amazing. Now, at any minute it was like, who's going to win this thing? It went back and forth throughout the entire thing, with close pins, pinfall attempts, finishing moves, the whole works, and like you said, in the end, Buddy Murphy, it's Murphy's Law. It was an amazing match, especially following the tag team match. Made it probably even that much better.
This is true.
But I gave this one a B+. I thought it was a really good match, and it's one of those matches where I could sit down and watch it again.
Oh, I definitely do agree with that.
So, yeah.
All right. So, from exciting to probably, I would say predictable, because we go on to the Men's Survivor Series tag team match, in which we had team captain Mr. Baron Corbin leading his team, even though he's not wrestling, in a matchup against Team SmackDown led by The Miz, who definitely deserved it. And honestly, I am loving what they're doing with The Miz right now. I just love every single bit about it. So, this matchup starts off really weird. And this is kind of one of those things where it sort of sets the pace, but at the same time, it also kind of makes you realize, okay, this is probably not going to end very well. Samoa Joe got eliminated in 35 seconds via a Claymore kick from Drew McIntyre. Nobody was happy about that, even myself. I was just like, are you kidding me? What?
Yeah, but that Claymore kick is a thing of beauty.
Okay, fair enough. I understand that. It's true. But what the fuck are they doing with Samoa Joe? This is getting ready.
No, that's a great question. I have no idea what the hell they're doing with Samoa Joe.
Because, oh my God, this guy, he's main evented against AJ Styles, and I love the matches that they're putting on, but then they don't do anything with him afterwards. It's like, what's going on? Why have him on the main roster if you're not going to do anything with him? You gave him some...
back on NXT where he was something.
Same thing could be said about Nakamura, too, and Bobby Roode, and so many other people. God, Don't do this to any more.
That whole idea of they got to pay their dues, even going from the NXT brand into the main roster. That 18-month pay your dues kind of thing. I don't know. That's all I can think of. That's all I can think is that, eventually these guys are going to get the push, and that's why they're sticking around, because otherwise, why are they sticking around? I mean, other than their contracts, I guess, but...
This just frustrates me so much. But, positive note on this matchup, we got an interaction between Rey Mysterio and Finn Balor. I loved it. There were some people who were like, it wasn't what I was expecting. It's like, no, I thought it was exactly what I was expecting. Again, it's Finn Balor versus Rey Mysterio. Love these two, pairing up. I love that these guys just absolutely kind of have like a mini match in between here. I think that definitely, I will say this, that this was one of those things where I could understand why this happened, but Finn Balor got eliminated by Rey Mysterio after a 619 and a frog splash, which I think was the right move. I mean, as much as I love Finn Balor, it was one of those things where it's like, Rey Mysterio seemingly has a little bit more of a veteran, advantage, in my opinion, over Finn Balor.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's not like Rey's one of these other guys who have been around for 20 years and can't move anymore. Rey is just as good, if not better, than he was 10 years ago,
Yeah, this is a fair point. During this matchup, also, Braun Strowman got taken down by Team SmackDown, and Shane McMahon was able to do the, flying elbow on Braun Strowman through the announce table. And I'm at the point now where I saw that, and I was just literally like, eh. I mean, that's sad. That's sad that I'm at the point where, Shane McMahon could do this crazy elbow, and I'm at the point now where it's just like, it is what it is.
But I look at it this way. Shane McMahon is 45, 46 years old.
Yeah.
So he's a few years older than me. I ain't doing that shit.
No, that's true, but again, it's just one of those things where it's like you expect it too much.
Yeah, especially with pay-per-views, he's going to do something stupid. Just the way it is.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Shane McMahon was able to pin Dolph Ziggler after a coast-to-coast because they needed to wrap up that storyline question.
I love that move, though, I'll be honest. Him going all the way across the ring, that's impressive.
Fair enough, but I'll take a Rob Van Dam Van Terminator over a coast-to-coast. I'm sorry, but Rob Van Dam is the one that made that move just absolutely amazing. That's just my opinion. All right, so guys, then we go from that to literally the demise of SmackDown because Shane McMahon was going for another coast to coast. I think it would have been to Bobby Lashley, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And immediately I had like this bad visual in my head. It was like, oh my god, it's going to be like the same thing with Roman and Shayna from a few years ago, where he's going to go for the coast to coast, and then Roman did that like midair spear on him and knocked him completely out. I was thinking, oh, Bobby Lashley's going to do the same thing to him. This is not going to end well. This is not going to end well. Well, to my surprise, out comes Braun Strowman, who's just like, nope, clotheslines him, knocks him down. Then Braun Strowman goes on a tear. He power slams Jeff Hardy, pins him. Power slams Mysterio, pins him. Power slams The Miz, pins him. And then then we had the best in the world, Shane McMahon. God, I cannot believe we live in a world where we have to say that, but just
Nobody
no.
says you have to.
Well, that's true. That's true. I mean, WWE has to because they have to acknowledge the fact. Oh, he won the tournament by beating Dolph Ziggler. Come on, just no. Shane McMahon basically does a deal where he's just like, "Yeah, come on, come at me," and Braun's just like, "Okay," picks him up, power slams 1, 2, 3. Braun Strowman, Team Raw gets the victory. I am kind of surprised that it was down to Braun Strowman, Drew McIntyre, and Bobby Lashley, of all people. I mean, it's not one of those things where I'll say...
Think about it. They're just saying, these are your top guys. Braun Strowman, Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, they all have a legitimate claim to a Universal title shot. So I think maybe that's where they were trying to showcase those three guys, just maybe to see what the audience reaction was, maybe to see, maybe they'll turn on each other. Maybe, that's kind of what I thought was going to happen, but it didn't.
Right.
Maybe I was hoping that was going to happen, but it didn't. But, maybe, I don't know. It just seems like the three that were left were the ones that have legitimate claims to at least a match for the Universal title.
And honestly, I'd be okay with that. Because, honestly, I know after this, win, Braun Strowman is getting a Universal title shot, or is he? Dun, dun, dun. After the match was over, though, Baron Corbin came, attacked Braun Strowman, and he leaves the ring. He has, Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley celebrate with him. Braun Strowman, of course, just being like, "Oh, you're dead, Corbin. You are dead."
Right.
So we'll get into a little bit about what happened with this storyline into Raw in just a minute. For the grading for this one, I gave this a B-. It was one of those things where it's like, okay, it had some good points. It had some good nostalgia. I did like a lot of the Miz's work during this, where he's trying to be like the motivating team captain during this, and he's just trying to, really be the guy who's just almost like a cheerleader, but also he's trying to be like a fearless leader. I like that.
Right.
But then, of course, the point where he is face-to-face with Braun Strowman, I'm just thinking to myself, well, I mean, to your credit, at least you're wearing like dark shorts instead of Drake Maverick, who is wearing like, tan pants and peed himself. So at least this time around, we won't know if you wet yourself or not. So
true. I thought, I don't know what I thought of this match. I mean, after watching it, it was kind of like, I kind of sat there going, it seemed so lopsided. Like, they had three left from Raw, and everybody from SmackDown was gone. I mean, it made SmackDown look insanely weak in this. The top guys of SmackDown looked weak compared to the people of Raw. Now, I don't know how you feel about this, but I definitely think SmackDown is a better show than Raw.
Agreed.
95% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't like the way that ended. I kind of am a Drew McIntyre fan. I'd like to see him with that Universal title. And I'm sure it'll happen eventually. Probably not soon enough for my taste, but, whatever. But in the end, I thought it was a pretty good match. It was definitely serviceable. It definitely went with the whole idea of Raw is dominant this year. Because... And we haven't really talked about this yet, but that pre-show win by SmackDown, throughout the entire episode, they kept saying, doesn't count, it's not part of the actual show, so it doesn't count. But I gave this one a C+. I said, it's good for what it was. It could have been a whole lot better.
No, I definitely do agree with that. I think that last year's definitely was so much better. And even though it was, between... it was like the final three was Braun, Triple H, and Shane McMahon. It was still one of those things where it was like, at least it still kind of served a purpose. I mean, obviously it was to promote Triple H's ego, but at the same time, we still got an ultimate payoff where Braun Strowman's just like, oh, you think that you're going to take the spotlight away from me? Nope. Power slam. And just seeing all the post stuff where Triple H is just trying to get up and he just keeps like falling over. It's just, oh my God. I think he still found a way to make Braun Strowman look strong, even though we were still kind of like very hesitant, and we're still hesitant about him right now. So what happened basically on Raw was basically Braun Strowman, he's getting everything he wants. He wants Baron Corbin, and he's going to get him at TLC in a tables, ladders, and chairs matchup. Stephanie McMahon instituted these stipulations that basically stated that, okay, well, if Braun, you win, then Baron Corbin is out of power, and he will get your Universal title shot at the Royal Rumble. If Corbin wins, he will be the full-time general manager of Monday Night Raw. As much as I love seeing Constable Corbin, I think we're at the point now where it's like, it's time to move on from Corbin. So yes. I am hoping that we have a Braun victory, and I know a lot of people are just saying like, oh no, but then we'll get Braun and Brock again. It's like, you know what? As long as Braun wins this time around, I'm okay with it. It's one of those things where I think it was stupid how they handled it at Saudi Arabia. I think they were doing it just for shock value, and it was probably like the only thing that was shocking at the Saudi Arabia show. I'm not going to mention the name.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it was just one of those things where it was like, okay, I mean, whatever. Yeah, like I said, it's just this is one of those matches that kind of irked me. But happy times. Oh, we're going into this matchup. Thank God. I thought this was going to be the main event, in all honesty, because I looked at where we were at in the card, and I'm like, wait a minute, that leaves just 2 matches. So, okay, both these matches could main event the show. I'm okay with it. I would have probably preferred this to be the main event, but I understood why. We had Raw Women's Champion Ronda Rousey taking on Charlotte Flair in basically a pre-WrestleMania square-off between the two of them, I guess you could say. Some people are stating that maybe after this they'll fight again at WrestleMania. I don't know. That'll be very interesting to see, but I think there's another matchup that definitely serves to be a better matchup for WrestleMania than this. No disrespect. But the match itself was honestly a very, very well done deal. It started off with the two of them doing a lot of technical style deals. We saw a lot of them doing a lot of, chain wrestling, which I thought was great. It definitely showed a lot of the advantages and a lot of the moves that Charlotte has in her repertoire, and it definitely shows that why people are definitely seeing her being pushed almost as high as the moon, high up to the moon on SmackDown. I'm okay with her being pushed as long as she can deliver, and she delivers fantastically in this matchup. Ronda definitely, there was a couple points I think that she almost got out-wrestled by Charlotte. I'm not saying that completely, but there are some points where it's like, wow, I think Charlotte is actually showing that she might have an advantage over Ronda. That's kind of insane, really. She would go for Charlotte would lock in the figure 4 early on after working on the leg. Ronda was able to get out of that. Ronda was very close to getting the armbar, but Charlotte was able to counter from that. Just some really good storytelling throughout this matchup. It was basically a situation where it was like, well, who's going to go over? Who's going to go over? There was actually a point where people were thinking, maybe Charlotte could do it. Maybe she could actually do it. And then there were some points where it was like, oh, great, we're getting a Ronda victory. This is going to suck. The finish actually was the shock for me that I was not expecting at all. And there's a part of me that liked what I saw, but at the same time, there was one point where I was like, okay, this might have pushed to a point where it's like, this might be just a little too far, maybe. But that's just me personally, because I have flashbacks of a really bad moment. I'll explain why in just a minute. Ronda was charging at Charlotte, almost like Braun would charge at anybody and just go for a clothesline. But then Charlotte would hit a kendo stick on Ronda. It calls for a disqualification. Ronda would win by DQ, but doesn't stop there. So Charlotte basically kendo sticks the hell out of Ronda so badly that you can see after the beatdown the welts and the marks and everything that was just on her. It was just so brutal seeing that. Then she would assault Ronda with a chair. She just would have this absolutely vicious intensity in her eyes that a lot of people were hoping to see, and we're not expecting that at all. And it's literally turning into, hey, if you work on SmackDown, eventually you're going to snap. That's literally what SmackDown's women's division is right now. I mean, don't believe me? Look at Becky Lynch, and now look at Charlotte. You can guarantee you there's going to be a faction with Becky Lynch, Charlotte, and Nikki Cross. I am calling that right now, and I'm willing to bet money on it. And oh my God, I would pay so much money for a t-shirt. That would be amazing. But it boils down to, like I said, the point where I thought it was maybe a little too much was Charlotte took the steel chair and wrapped it around Ronda's neck, and then she would do a small stomp on Ronda. Ronda, unfortunately, she was holding her neck. She was kind of wheezing, and Charlotte, she's just showing I don't care. And it's one of those things where I saw that I had the immediate flashbacks to 2004. When Kane did that to Shawn Michaels, and then later on the year where you mentioned him, Gene Snitsky did that to Kane at Taboo Tuesday, and it was just one of those things where I'm like, oh God, I'm expecting them to just start, spitting out blood and just having a deal where they're going to be out of commission for a while. During this whole deal, I will say this, that I think the LA crowd actually kind of disappointed me. Because this was the one time where I was literally like, okay, we're getting a Charlotte heel turn here. This is great. This is a really fantastic deal. But then there are people, they're just cheering. And they're just like, yeah. And there's even people chanting for Ronda's beatdown saying, you deserve it. You deserve it. I'm like, are you kidding me? You're basically saying that she deserves to basically be crippled? No, I fully disagree with that. Those people are a bunch of idiots. Those people made the list, literally, because Ronda has actually been doing a fantastic job. She has been exceeding at so many expectations.
She has come so far in the short amount of time she's been in the WWE that I'm absolutely impressed with her abilities and how they grow every week almost, it seems like. That said, Charlotte wore out 2 candlesticks on her and a chair, and I was hoping for the heel turn. But unfortunately, the crowd didn't let it happen. They cheered her. And, I mean, for a few minutes there, I thought, what the hell? Am I watching ECW? It
right.
was brutal. I mean, Ronda Rousey was bleeding from the ear at one point because I think she took a kendo shot to the side of the head. She was, I mean, like you said, she was welted up. She was still welted up on Monday. It was, you could see the X on her arm where you could see it, during the show. And, I mean, her chest was just brutalized from the chops that she got during the match. It was just, I mean, she took some nasty shots because it looked like her forehead was still swollen on Monday. Like it was raised and shiny. And I was just like, that's a hell of a beating. Whether or not you were expecting it, that's, that was brutal. And I don't know how to feel about it. Like you said, some parts of it I really enjoyed. I mean, and some parts of it even got a little uncomfortable where you're just kind of sitting in your chair kind of squirming a little like, is this done now?
Right.
But, overall, I enjoyed the match. I thought they had a great match going. And that, if I had any problems with anything that happened last night, that was when she went for the kendo stick. It's like, you actually felt that at some point in the match that Charlotte could beat her. And I wish it would have been a nice, match that ended in the middle of the ring, whether in a figure 8 or an armbar, I don't care. But it didn't happen that way. And it'll be interesting to see if the crowds will allow Charlotte to actually turn heel, or if she's going to become kind of like what Becky Lynch is right now, where she's a heel face, because she's playing the heel, she's saying all the things the heel would say, and the crowd is cheering her. So it'll be interesting to watch that evolution.
Definitely. I mean, especially since we had WWE Evolution, where we see this new aggressive side of her, and it's one of those things where maybe WWE Evolution's, Last Woman Standing match was a sign of things to come when Charlotte and Becky, tore each other apart. I mean, we talk about it highly, about how it was just an absolutely fantastic matchup. Again, for me, this was match of the night, because even with the finish, even though it was a bit janky, I loved what this accomplished. It accomplished the fact that, Ronda and Charlotte can put on a high-quality, high-stakes matchup here. And the fact is that they can just really find a way to keep people invested and interested. I am looking forward to seeing where this goes. This was a solid A for me. I really loved how everything goes. I will also say this, that you did mention, Ronda bleeding from the ear and just taking all these belts. I forgot to even mention the fact that she actually got busted up in the mouth early on in the matchup by an unintentional elbow from Charlotte. I think that Charlotte was just trying to lift her arm up or something like that, and then she accidentally knocked Ronda in the face, and she was bleeding from the mouth. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, geez, the women's division is starting to get more blood than the men's division. What is this telling us? We're in a new age and a new era of women's wrestling, and I'm okay with it as long as it doesn't get to be too much. I understand, there's some things where they were unintentional. The whole thing with Nia was unintentional. The whole thing with Charlotte was unintentional. It's just one of those things where it's like, okay, just can we just tone down just a small bit with the blood? Not that I have a problem with people showing the brutality of the matchup. It's just one of those things where it's like too much blood. I mean, people know about staph infections, and let's just face it, and those aren't things that are like, really things to joke about. Let's just kind of find ways to work safe around each other. Can we, still basically almost kill each other, but work a little bit safe, please?
What was the Nia punch really an accident?
It's a debate that could be discussed on their podcast. It's neither here nor there. It happened. They're making a gimmick out of it. God help us all.
Yeah, we could do without the gimmick, but I went back and I watched that punch a few times, and I'm like, I don't know. I by no means am the one to judge whether or not it was an accident, but anyway, back to the match. I gave it an A-.
So I will
match of the night easily.
Yes. And honestly, guys, I will also say this. The post-match stuff for the crowd was still kind of booing. I think there was a mix of boos and cheers. You could definitely tell that Ronda was just not happy about that. I don't blame her, because she worked so hard to get where she's at right now. And if she's getting treated like that, I would not really be surprised if that, basically was the final deal where she was just saying, like, I don't need to do this. But the one thing that kind of stood out was as she was going up the ramp, some stupid idiot fan, I don't know what they said, but it stopped Ronda in her tracks. She looked over, and she just said to that fan, "You're not a man." I just was like, damn, dude, you just got owned by Ronda, and you deserved it. You got castrated by one of the toughest women in all of sports and entertainment, and you deserved it. She is basically going to mount your testicles on her wall and then burn them. So
she's the baddest bitch on the planet.
She really is. No, I could say that. Second being my gal, Evilise. Shout out to Evilise. Love you, girl. Also got your shirt. It's amazing. So we go on to the main event of the show. A lot of people were looking forward to it. A lot of people had worries about this. And I will tell you, as the match happened, I was indeed worried about this. Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar in the final champion versus champion matchup. And for me, I was thinking, well, at this point, maybe we're going to see SmackDown finally get a victory. Maybe.
I was kind of hoping.
And I will say this, how foolish of me to think that, because it didn't happen. Now let's talk about the match itself. It told a really interesting, but also a very good story with Daniel Bryan almost doing a Roman Reigns deal. Like, if you remember from WrestleMania 31, where Roman Reigns kept on getting, beat up, and Roman just still has this smile on his face, and that just pissed off Brock that much more. It felt like Daniel Bryan was kind of doing the same thing. Early on in the matchup, he's just, doing deals where he's doing the Brock Lesnar jiggle, and he's running around the ring, and he's just doing these deals, and I'm just like, okay, this is actually some really good mind game stuff. I was not expecting this, but it was kind of great to see it. And then we get into the deal. First thing we see, German suplex from Brock Lesnar. Daniel Bryan looks like he's knocked for a loop. It looked like he landed really badly. And literally, I'm just like,
landed high on his back, low on his neck. It did not look good.
That was the one moment where I was like, oh God, are we going to have to call this match early? Oh God. Then we see more German suplexes, belly-to-belly suplexes. I even lost track of how many suplexes were hitting this. And this is really crazy, because throughout this first part of the matchup, you look over at Paul Heyman, and he's not like cheering. He's not having that vindictive smile. He's actually concerned. He actually looks over, and there's a part of him that's just like, oh my God, we might actually kill this guy.
And it started with that first suplex. I mean, when he landed badly, that was when Heyman started reacting like that. And then I started to wonder, is he hurt? And can they actually call Brock off?
That's a good point. That is a good point. I could definitely see them try to be like, no, Brock, it's over. And Brock's just like, screw you guys, we're finishing this matchup. Then we had Brock Lesnar go for the F5 on Daniel Bryan. As soon as he did the whole swing deal, Daniel Bryan's leg hit the referee. Then we get the low blow to Brock Lesnar, which honestly right there I'm thinking, oh my God, they're going to do this. Oh my God. I started just seeing that. I'm thinking, oh my God, if this is how it ends, I will be supremely surprised. Daniel Bryan hits the running knee. 1, 2, Brock kicks out. And I will say this, if you guys get a chance, go check out Demon Diva's reaction video, because first of all, I'll tell you this right now, I made the joke to her saying like, oh, well, she's acting like Brock has never tapped out. Obviously, she hasn't seen her hit her boy in 2003 where she tapped out twice, but that's neither here nor there. Trust me, guys, if you look on Twitter, you'll find the interaction between the two of us, and it's actually kind of funny. She kind of responds with the like Back to the Future reference and stuff like that. It's kind of awesome. That again, neither here nor there. Match us up again. Then we see Daniel Bryan starting to mount back some offense. There even came a point during the deal where Brock was going for an F5, but Daniel Bryan worked on the leg, and you see him just kind of like crumple underneath, and I'm like, wow, this is, oh God, they actually did something interesting. Daniel Bryan locked in the yes lock. You heard the crowd just getting so totally into it. They're thinking, yes, we're getting Daniel Bryan victory via tap out. And Brock was able to, muster out of it, but only for a little bit because Daniel Bryan then hits him, I think, forearms to the back of the head or something like that, locks back in the yes lock. Then we see Brock Lesnar just crawling the ropes, and there's so many points where I'm thinking, oh my God, Brock might actually tap out. Holy crap, that would be actually amazing. Oh, I want to see this so badly right now. It didn't end up happening. What ended up happening, of course, was that Brock was able to power up. He would get hit with another running knee. Holy crap. That second one was more brutal than the first one. I literally thought I heard, knee contact to the head. I'm just like, oh, God. I think Brock may have a concussion after that. He gets another 2 count. In the end, we see Brock Lesnar hit 1 F5. 1, 2, 3. Brock Lesnar defeats Daniel Bryan. Honestly, match itself definitely feels like it was made out of pure nostalgia, but it was still, honestly, a really good matchup. I think it may have exceeded the expectations that I had. Probably the main expectation that I thought was going to happen was that Daniel Bryan was probably going to end up in a stretcher, or he was going to end up possibly paralyzed after a bad suplex. But no, after the first suplex, he took care of himself better, which I thought was great. I lost track of how many suplexes he got hit. Not as much as probably Roman Reigns got hit by, but it was still one of those things where you just keep watching every suplex and you're still kind of worried about it. But it's one of the first few times that we actually see Brock Lesnar being taken to his limit. Daniel Bryan does a fantastic job of doing it. As far as match quality wise, I think I would give this one. I'll give it a B. It was still a really good matchup. It just was one of those things where it's it was more of a more pure nostalgia matchup. We were not expecting it to be a pure technical style deal. It was Brock's going to do his deal, Daniel Bryan will do his deal. Probably see either Daniel Bryan get a fluke victory or an F5, and that was it. It was one of those main events where I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you just don't know. But I don't know. Your thoughts?
Yeah. After last month, I was expecting another squash match. I thought for some reason they were trying to make the Beast look like even more of a beast, but thankfully we didn't get that because his squash match with Braun Strowman I thought was just horrible. But that was last month. I thought the way Daniel worked his way back after being brutalized for a good 10, 12 minutes or whatever it was, I thought that worked really well. I thought the quality of the match, and I have this problem with all Brock Lesnar matches, is Brock isn't that good of a wrestler. He can't sell. I mean, is he a beast? Absolutely. Would I want to stand toe-to-toe with him? No way in hell. But he's not. His performance qualities are not what I would consider high quality. When they're pushing him as the Beast and he's on top and he doesn't have to sell anything and he's just working another person over, he's great. When he has to sell, which I thought for him he actually did a pretty darn good job in this match.
Oh, God, yeah.
But overall, I thought the quality of the match was kind of low. I gave it a C. I was not overly impressed by it. I was impressed by Daniel Bryan, but the match itself really didn't impress me. So that's just my thought.
Yeah, fair enough. No, I totally understand that. He's definitely a different Brock Lesnar from what he was, back in the day where he was putting on wrestling clinics with guys like Kurt Angle.
Right.
But, but he's still provides, good nostalgia feeling. I mean, as a lot of people know for a fact, he is an attraction. But, you can't you can't just, focus fully on just an attraction to make a show. And I will say this, that, excuse me, that this was a night where, I think that, you didn't need an attraction. It definitely helped make the show, but there were still enough good moments throughout the show that people could definitely say, hey, it was pretty decent. So, final gradings for this show, I would give this I give it a B-, in all honesty, guys, because this definitely was a step down from what we had from last year's Survivor Series. Last year, every matchup was fantastic. Every matchup had something about it that made you, very nostalgic and thinking, oh my gosh, we could have, this happen. We could have this happen. We could have this happen. But obviously, after a certain amount of time, you kind of see where everything's going. That tension and that, expectations just shrinks incredibly. And obviously, Vince McMahon wanted Raw to do a fully sweep of the show, to which Chad said, it makes SmackDown look that much weaker, especially going into their Fox deal going in next year. It's one of those things where it's like, well, why do this if why give why not give SmackDown at least a little bit of momentum? Why not have them say, hey, yeah, we lost most of our matches, but hey, at least we could say we won this match. I mean, obviously, you could say that about the tag team matchup, but it's still one of those things where it's like, it's hard to say that because, the tag team match was not exactly that good. That being said, though, the matches themselves were great. Storyline telling throughout the night, I think, was definitely a hot mess. It was almost to the point of hot garbage, not quite to that point. I mean, honestly, this is still leaps and bounds better than the Saudi Arabia show. Both of them, I would definitely say. But yeah, it's just one of those things where just you had such high hopes going into this night, and they didn't meet them. That's the issue. They just did not meet those expectations.
Yeah, compared to last year, it was so bad. But that said, give me 2 matches like the Seth Rollins Shinsuke Nakamura match. Give me 2 matches like the Murphy Ali match. Give me a handful of matches of like the Ronda Rousey Charlotte, and you'd have a great show. I mean, there was highlights in this show. There were good matches in this show, but overall the show kind of lacked. Like you said, it just didn't sell to the expectations. It wasn't at the level where all these wrestlers can be. Overall, I gave it a C+. I don't know. It's just kind of middle of the road.
Yeah. So now we know that it can only go uphill from here when it comes to next year's Survivor Series, which a lot of people will know that it's going to be happening in Rosemont, Illinois, guys. So for those of you that are in Chicago area, I do plan on going to Survivor Series next year because, oh God, I am happy that we're getting another event next year. I mean, we had Money in the Bank this past year. It was great. So Survivor Series, Raw vs. SmackDown, it's going to be a very interesting to see what happens next year. All right, so that being said, we're going to wrap up this edition of The Game Changer. Mr. Chad, thank you so much for being a part of this. And now I also know that you have a podcast that you do other than this one. If you want to do like a little shameless plug for that, by all means.
Absolutely, I would love to. All right, so I am actually co-owner of another podcast group called Eclectic Media Project, and we just recently went live to the public on our own. We used to work with another group, Point of Insanity Games, and shout out to those guys. They were great. They knew from the beginning that at some point we were going to bludgeon and blossom off onto our own. We have a website at www.eclecticmediaproject.com. We are on both iTunes and on Podbean under Eclectic Media Project. We're on Facebook under Eclectic Media Project. So yeah, just check us out. We do a variety of different things, from music podcasts to informational podcasts to news podcasts. So we've got a group of like 4 podcasts at this point. We also have places for new artists where they can come in and they can show their work. We don't charge anything for it. They just submit it to the website and we put it out there. Same thing for writers. So we've got a lot of things going on right now. So come check out the website, and we hope to hear from people. So thanks for letting me plug that.
Yeah, no problem. Guys, if you want to get more information on that, I will have it in the comment section below where you can find them, where you can learn more about this podcast. Definitely sounds like an absolutely amazing deal. Of course, you know where to find us on Spreaker.com as well as YouTube and iHeartRadio. You can always follow me on Twitter at RealFNGame. And once again, guys, very happy to say that this week, on the week of Thanksgiving, Game Changer is definitely changing up the game, as we did this past Sunday by getting a victory over the Kings of the Rings podcast. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing how Mr. Will, Mr. Dave, and Mr. Ricky have to eat their royal punishment, as they said. It's one of the deals in which you definitely don't want to miss out on that. I'm pretty sure that they are recording as we're speaking. I could be completely wrong, and I could be breaking kayfabe. Oops. But I'm very much looking forward to hearing what they have to say on Friday, so definitely tune into their stuff. Also, check out Wrestle Addict Radio, which features Rant with Ant, Gift of Podcast, Who Got Next. So many great podcasts on there, you guys. Check them out on www.rantwithant.com. And with that being said, for Chad, I've been Nate the Effing Great. Survivor Series was meh. War Games was awesome. And we're on to one more show, and that is TLC before the year ends. So we already got a couple matches to look forward to. So we got the final confrontation between Dean and Rollins. Okay, maybe not the final confrontation, but you get what I mean. It's the final build-up that they've been doing for a while. So with that being said, have a good one. Happy Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you in the next episode. Bye-bye.